the Georgia Election Board basically saying that there was a lot to, a lot of terrible things that were happening and things that you would never think the state election board would allow when it came to, and it's still been 3 years. They still haven't solved all the problems with the 2020 election, and there's all these mail-in ballots, et cetera, et cetera. But I want to talk about this tweet that you posted on March 29th, Harrison. You said, "I believe we have evidence that demonstrates a coordinated effort to cover up election fraud during the 2020 election in Georgia. I'm prepared to turn over supporting documents and testify before Congress. America deserves the truth." Can you tell us what you meant by that?
The state of Georgia violated the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. And they've weaponized the government to put pressure on me and others to remain silent. And they've done it in a coordinated effort. And now there's more evidence coming out. I mean, I think you mentioned 147, but did we talk about that? The signature verification?
We have not.
Okay, so I don't know how much more time we have. I'll try to
please
be brief on this. So just to give you a quick timeline, District Attorney Willis tried to subpoena me 2 times to come and testify before the grand jury. It was September of 2022. In February, I didn't live in Georgia. I lived in Maryland at the time. So I'm outside of her jurisdiction. So what happened in between September and February, when the FBI showed up on my doorstep, Nathan Wade charged the county for meetings that he had with the Department of Justice, the January 6th committee, and even the White House. Wow. So then on February 23rd, the FBI shows up at my doorstep. My daughter and I were assaulted. They trespassed into my residence. They did not show me a badge. They didn't in person identify themselves. There's a lot of other videos that you can see it happening to other people. The very next day after that, on February 24th, District Attorney Willis made an appointment to go and speak with Kamala Harris. The appointment happened on the 28th, 4 days later. So anyone who's ever tried to go to the White House or the vice president's residence or get a tour, it takes months or even weeks to get through Secret Service clearance for that. She got through in 4 days, right? After that, in March, I had to go testify before Jack Smith's grand jury, and I had to turn over everything, every document, video, everything that I had related to Georgia. Then in between that, we know that the district attorney's office again spoke with Jack Smith, the January 6th committee, and the White House again. So this now begs the question, did they turn over to the district attorney everything that I had, which now means they know what I know, which is why I'm the only co-defendant that I keep seeing this word and it bothers me every time. They say, I was jailed because I didn't have a pre-consent bond pre-negotiated. No, the district attorney's office didn't reach out to me to negotiate one like she did everyone else. And the district attorney office called and threatened and harassed my family members the day before I flew down. That's why I flew down in such a hurry. Then when I got there, I'm the only one that was jailed. I'm the only one that a judge denied a bond for, right? I'm the only one and for the charge was for what happened with the FBI who showed up. That's why the bond was denied. I'm the only one whose bond that they went after to go revoke because the information I was sharing was related back to that and exposing everything that was wrong and a lie. And then when the judge modified my bond in February of this year to allow me to be able to speak again and to potentially work on to work on the Trump campaign and talk about these things I'm talking about now, I wasn't even notified until a month later. So there's this clear pattern of coordination within the government to suppress me from speaking, because what's the best way to silence someone who's actually a witness? To make them a co-defendant or a defendant, to discredit them, right? And so when we had, and so here's the other
So
thing.
that's why she charged you. That's why she charged you.
So here's the other thing. All the communications between District Attorney Willis and the Department of Justice Jack Smith have been deleted. They can't find. The same thing with the January 6th committee, and the same thing with the White House legal counsel. And oh, by the way, when the FBI showed up at my house, I lived in Jamie Raskin's congressional district, which he was on the January 6th committee. And the initial charges that the FBI filed, did it just go out? Okay. And
No.
then and the initial charges that were filed, the FBI didn't even file them. They did it through the local state government.
Wow.
Why is that? So I'm prepared to, and it's because of what I know and what I understand and how everything really transpired and what really happened. Over 147,000 mail-in ballots. The signatures were not verified. They did not maintain custody of any of these mail-in ballots, and they also did not retain images of ballots that's required. All these things are required by
right. That they did not. Why did they not retain? They're supposed to for how many years? Is it 2 years or something, Harrison?
No, it's supposed to be. I think a little bit longer than that. But
yeah, and they got rid of. Why did they not retain those images? It makes no sense.
There's even another case going on right now where they've just stalled out and haven't pushed forward with it because they know the result that's going to be. And so this is why all this is important, is because Fulton County, Georgia, has the highest amount of black voters than any other state. Fulton County has the highest concentration of those black voters. 48% of the population in Fulton County is black, and like 36% is white, right? So 47,000 mail-in ballots were the signatures were not verified, and everything that I just mentioned that violated state law. That means it disproportionately happened to black people.
Wow.
And there's violations of the Civil Rights and Voting Rights Act, which Georgia has a history of doing. So
this isn't the first time, you're saying?
That's why we have the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act, is because of all the Jim Crow mess that was going on.
Oh, right.
Beforehand. So I've said this from the beginning, there's nothing new under the sun. What transpired during the 2020 election is the same thing that's been happening to blacks and minorities, but no one really paid attention to it until now, because on the election night in 2020, it happened to everybody. It happened to white people too. Like, what's going on? We don't understand. Black people are like, yeah, we know this game. So I've spoken to a couple members' offices and committees, and have explained what I have, what I'm willing to turn over. That's not under protective order. What there is that they can go and subpoena, because right now Fulton County is trying to stall out in several different ways. And when Congress subpoenas something, you get a date and a time to turn it over. And if you don't, you're held in contempt. And also when Congress asks for it, they don't have to pay for it. So one way or another, all this stuff that we know is there and not there, that should be there, it will come to light.
Oh, God bless you, sir. Wow. God bless you. Did you all hear that? Holy macadamia nut. That is, thank you so much, Harrison, for such a thorough, comprehensive answer to that. And we are all with you. I hope to God that all this stuff comes to light, you don't hear anybody talking about this. Nobody's talking about this. None of the networks, mainstream media.
No one's looked at it through this perspective or this lane. Everyone's looked at it as an overall election fraud thing. Mm-hmm. No one has looked at it through the lens of, well, there's a lot of black people here, right? There's some civil rights that are being violated. Let's take a different approach. And and I think that's why I thought of it, is because I'm the black guy that did the black thing, and well, this was our key DMA. Why are we not having this conversation? Right. So now we're about to, and some people are going to have to answer some questions, and we're going to see probably some people get charged with some very serious crimes.
Oh, God bless. I can't wait for that.
And here's the key thing. All right, a conversation that I had that no one's thinking of is, once all this is proved and certified or is verified, right? So I can have a technician grab one of these Dominion machines in Georgia and show and demonstrate and flip votes, show them exactly how they did it. We have someone who it actually happened to, another case study, right? So once we show that not only it could happen, but it did happen, Then what gets put before Congress? Do they maybe want to start talking about decertifying 16 electoral votes because you can't ensure that they're credible? So what happens then? Well, nothing to the president because it was a general and we're already in another election year, right? You can't unseat a president. Nothing to the members of the House. But there were 2 Senate races that also took place in 2020. There's a special election. Typically, the Senate races are staggered. So if Georgia's 16 electoral votes are decertified, that does a couple things. One, Fani's case goes out the window because now these electoral votes are no longer considered legitimate. 2, Congress now has a constitutional crisis and has to figure out what to do with 2 senators that are voting in the Senate that shouldn't be. Do they pull their cards and not allow them to vote and do other things? Like, the letters for military academies and have, different conversations like that. Just don't allow them vote. Do they kick it back to the state and say you have to do another election? What happens? I don't know. But what I do know is that when those 2 senators, if they're not allowed to vote, that flips the Senate back to the Republicans.
Wow. Huge. That's absolutely huge. Oh my goodness. Wow. Thank you so much, Harrison, for sharing. By the way, my next question is, do you have bodyguards? Do you have security cameras all over you? Because I sincerely am worried about your safety. Okay. I don't